On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Orlando Magic, and Luka Doncic, he's back. Talk about why that matters and how the Mavs got the win and more. Today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
Almost done.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
Let it ride. Party over at Slightly's.
Yes, sir. How you doing,
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our Locked On Mavs newsletter. Check the QR code or the link in the description to find a way where you can subscribe to Locked On Mavs. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. If it wins, visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, the three-man weave. Let's go. Isaac Harris, the media member, and the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac?
Man, I'm just excited we get to put Luka Doncic back in the SEO.
He was always there, whether he's good or bad.
And the title of the pod, he's back.
He's back.
Welcome to the season, Luka.
From the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the Postgame Prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I'm happy that we could go back to planning our championship parade, and we're back to having fun.
It looks like you're in it right now.
Yeah,
I know. Well, this is just after a win in November. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. I also couldn't imagine us as raccoons, but shout out to Wendy who gave us this amazing art of us as raccoons.
Wendy.
Shout out Wendy.
With the letter right.
I love the merch plug for me.
Absolutely great with the unblocked slightly shirt, the glasses.
Wait. Who's
No
the guy
longer
in the
for
middle?
sale, by the way.
Is that somebody?
The guy in the middle is supposed to be me.
Okay.
And I've realized I have the least distinguishable qualities to become a cartoon.
Because your hair is perfect.
It looked pretty run of the mill cartoon.
I'm just an NPC cartoon. But today's show, we're going to get into this Mavs win that was not just a normal win. It was a good win. It felt like a good win for the Mavericks. Felt like a win where it's like, all right, just take care of business. Best player on the other team is out. Their starting center is hurt and hobbled. Go take care of business, see what happens. And so we're talking about Naji Marshall. He had a good game. We'll talk about Quentin Grimes. We'll talk about how the Mavs got this win. But let's start here, gentlemen. Let's start with Luka Doncic because he was the reason why this Mavs team got off to as good of a start as they did. 14 points in the first quarter. He finishes the game with 32 and hits a bunch of shots. It felt like he was taking the same shots that he was taking before, but 5 of 13 from 3, which is 38%. We'll take that. And got 7 assists as well in the game. He got started early, Isaac, and it just felt like everything else kind of fell into place for this Mavs team.
Hey, I mean, it was just a matter of time. I mean, Luka was going to start hitting all these shots eventually. And I just got asked this morning, earlier on Sunday morning, like, hey, how's the Mavs season going? We're, 5-6 games in? I was like, hey, we're winning games, and Luka's really not even playing that great. And then we have one of these first quarters where he puts up, 14 in the first and 25 in the first half. He's hitting the threes. He's feeling himself. He's back in the groove there in that first quarter. And like, all right, well, and then the other guys are hitting some shots too. And it's like, this is where it gets into that. I just don't know how you guard this team. Like when they're playing like that and Luka's on, and the other guys are hitting shots. They just feel, it feels so like biased and like Mavs fanny to say like, I don't see how anybody could guard them. And, but that's just like where I'm at when you see a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on here that Luka's first quarter scoring he's always been one of the best in the league, if not the absolute best in the league, pretty much every single year since he's been in the league. And it just sets the tone for the Mavs offensively. So when he's just like not only struggling, but going through a career worst shooting stretch, it's just kind of difficult, I think, for everybody to find a rhythm. And we saw it in the fourth quarter against that Rockets team. You know, he hit that shot against the Timberwolves. You're like, oh, could that be the moment that kind of flips the switch for him? But he still wasn't like great in that game. But that Rockets fourth quarter, he had 15 points, 6 of 8 from the field. It was like, okay, that's the Luka we've been waiting to see. And then, yeah, he comes out, hits his jumpers, and it was just a flurry of threes for him. And then getting downhill, too, and attacking the rim and attacking the paint. So that's what you want to see. And then it just opened up everything for the Mavs offensively. I mean, it's really a direct correlation.
It didn't feel like he was getting any different shots or looks either. It just those finally went down. He hit 5 threes and hit the he had a couple of mid-range shots. Like you said, he got to the rim a couple times, and that's all he really needed. Like right. It's weird to just break Luka's game down into, all right, he got 5 buckets here, 5 buckets here, and 5 buckets here, but then that's it. That's what he needed to do.
Well, Orlando also has Mo Wagner, and anytime that you can get Luka in a game in which a random role player, and I say random just because he's not, I mean, we know him and Luka have history, but anytime you get a game where Luka finds a target, a role player in another team, and just says, I'm going to be pissed off and I'm going to torch you and talk crap to you all game.
You just made me mad.
You just know that it's coming into this game because, if Mo's playing, you're like, well, dang, there's no guessing of who that player's going to be. It's going to be Mo Wagner every time. And honestly, I think he just plays better when he's pissed off. And you see that going against somebody like Wagner.
It kind of felt like it was Jonathan Isaac in the end of the first quarter, though. He got those 2 plays against him where he hit both the shots, got 2 fouls against him, and hit that last and one where he did the pivot scoop at the rim, and he gets hit in the back of the head, turns around, and it's just like, and what? Like it felt
I loved how he yelled at Mosley. He was sitting there pointing at Mosley. He's like, "Don't challenge it. Don't do it. He hit my head. Don't do it." And Mosley went.
He was doing his former coach a solid there.
Well, it didn't work.
That was pretty peak Luka. I don't know what the Mo Wagner thing is. It is pretty hilarious. But, when he gets going, and it's like that's what I love to see is it's just the fiery competitiveness. And it does. The rest of the team picks up on it. So they desperately needed it. And also, too, think about, no Paolo. This Magic team's already not good offensively, and you're taking away their best offensive player by a mile. And it's like
rough.
Luka comes out and plays like that to start the game. There's just not going to be enough scoring for Orlando to come back. So.
Did they need to start like this in a game like this? Could they have? I mean, I think they could have won like a drag out, tough defensive game at the end. But it felt like the Mavs needed a game like this to kind of break out of their really slow starts they've gotten in first quarters.
Yeah, I would have been really upset if they sleptwalked through this game. To be honest with you, this is what you need to do. First night of a back-to-back. We talked about this. You want to be a top seed. You want to do all these things. Those teams are great at home, usually, historically. And you come out in games like this and you set the tone immediately. And they went on a 52-16 run in this game.
Oh,
nice.
The Mavs did.
Is that good?
I mean, that is crazy. And it's just, no Paolo, but that was really it. It's like the Magic were missing, 10 guys. Wendell Carter Jr. got hurt halfway through this game, but the game was over by that point. So
I will say, I feel like Luka needed this more than the Mavs needed this. That we've seen that the Mavericks have won some games without him, and it's hard to
without him playing well.
Without him playing well, okay, yeah.
Just without him. He's just gone.
Without him not playing. But it's they both needed it in a way. Like if Luka didn't step up tonight, I wouldn't have been shocked if Klay shot the ball more. It was weird early on. I feel like Mavs fans are going to get in this conundrum every single game if you really want to, that there's only so many shots that can go around, that whoever the third guy is out of Luka, Kyrie, and Klay, who doesn't get a ton of shots in the first quarter, and tonight it was Klay, and it was like, whoa, Klay's not getting a bucket, get Klay's shots, what are we doing? And it's like, well, dude, Luka's going off right now. So it's like we you almost got to pick here, so we can kind of pick who that third guy is every night who doesn't get the shots, and be like, why isn't that guy getting the shots? And for me, it's just Omax every night.
Can we talk about Luka's tech? 3 techs in 6 games. What are we doing? What are these techs?
We're getting a suspension. Is what we're getting. That feels like we're destined towards that.
We only get 16 for the season. He's already got 3.
Is it at 13?
No, it's 15 or 16, right? We can. Go
Nick, you couldn't even go the whole first segment without bringing up something negative about Luka.
That's just what I do. That's what I'm here. Everybody in Mavs media has their place, and mine is to say anything negative about Luka, apparently, that I can.
Slightly. Don't let him get away with that.
But my thing about this tech though is it felt like it was against the refs. Like it felt like it was a really soft tech, and I'm just like, where are these techs coming from? Where he just goes over, talks to the ref, and apparently he said a magic word or something. Because I mean, I even had somebody that was sitting courtside came up and was talking to me and was like, yeah, I didn't even see that tech coming, because I hear when Luka is really screaming and like really yelling, and he said in that moment he wasn't.
They're not playing around with him this year.
No.
It does not feel like it. They're not. They must have had a meeting or something where they're like, we're not doing that this year. It's not happening.
They had 5 players. They're like, all right, these 5 players, we're clamping down. Like we're not putting up with this. Little Iverson vibes.
Tony Brothers is like, can we get him suspended before the game that I have to ref?
This one I didn't see on the broadcast if he said anything. The one that he got, when was his other one? The Timberwolves game? Or was it against the Rockets? I don't remember. But one of them was so soft. It looked like he might have said one word. And it didn't even look like a magic word to me. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It kind of feels like they're just like, hey, Luka, we're not doing it this year.
I think they learned Slovenian this offseason.
They finally got wise. They finally figured out, oh, that's what he's saying. That's what you're saying to me. Coming up, let's get into how the Mavs won this game. How did they get it done? Let's talk about Naji. Let's talk about Grimes. Let's talk about the bigs. Let's talk about all the things that went well for the Mavs in this coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is there for you when you are down, or even when you're up and you just need things in your life that you have to talk about. Everybody has anxiety. There's a big event happening in the U.S. right now that has a lot of people very anxious, and you may need to talk to somebody about that. This month, it's all about gratitude, and along with the 3 guys, there are the 2 guys on here that are with me that are very important to me. There's also so many other people in our lives that we need to thank. The copy says to shout somebody out, so I guess you guys are
muted. Dang it.
You guys are the 2 guys that are I'm going to shout out here. People are important to you, and somebody else is important to you. It's yourself. You need to work on yourself. Talk through some of the issues in your life. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. I've used it before. What I liked about it, it's entirely online, convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. I could schedule it a bunch of different times or days throughout the week because my schedule changes so much. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge, which is awesome. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. This Raccoon Squad, we look like we're a little like raccoon band in this fan art.
Yeah, like a little boy bandy.
I love it. It's like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah, it is like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Shout out to everybody that I saw at the game tonight that came up to me and yelled Raccoon Squad or said something to me. Appreciate each and every one of you. Check out our newsletter. Every single day we send out a newsletter. Isaac and I send out a free newsletter that goes straight to your inbox. And right now, as it stands, Locked On Mavs is the #1 among all Locked On newsletters because of you guys. So we appreciate the Raccoon Squad again for doing that. We got to keep up our lead, though. Can't have anybody catch us. So subscribe. Check the QR code or the link in the description to find that. All right, gentlemen, let's get into this game. Mavs start early, up 30-22 at the beginning of this game, which was massive. That second quarter, 35-18, just kind of like took the lead at that point. And it was a lot because of the Mavs bigs, I thought. The Mavs bigs feasted in this game. Wendell Carter Jr. was questionable to come into this game. He had tendonitis in his knee, and he's a center for the Magic, but he's also like 6'8", 6'9", and so the Mavs centers feasted on him. And then when it was Wendell Carter Jr. went out with the injury, then it was just Mo Wagner, who we already talked about. Slightly, the Mavs bigs just feasted. It felt like over and over again, and they combined for, 29 points in this game.
Yeah, 29 points, 19 rebounds, and 40 combined minutes. So that's really good production from those two. I find it interesting. They try to get Gafford going early. Like you can tell, first touches of games, they go to a Gafford post up. First touch of the half, they go to a Gafford post up. So try to get him involved early and often. And I thought he played really well. I thought Lively played really well. And that's what these two need to do. I mean, it's kind of been up and down-ish start to the season for them, where they've had games so far where they've, like that Suns game, were kind of similar to here. Realistically, those two should have dominated in that game against Nurkic, and they were kind of missing in action. But at this game, I mean, just from the moment the game started, the Mavericks felt like the much bigger basketball team because of those two. So shout out to them. They played great again.
I get reminded of I remember Doc Rivers a long time ago used to say that they would do this with Kendrick Perkins early on in games and give him a touch and let him kind of like do whatever.
This is supposed to be a positive.
Wait, why are you laughing at me right now?
It's a Kendrick Perkins.
Don't comb your hair.
Kendrick Perkins was on some good basketball teams. He was a valuable player. He was. It's hard to remember it that way.
I'm gonna go look up Kendrick Perkins basketball reference. Kendrick Perkins.
Anyway, back to my story. Doc would talk about how they gave him a touch at the beginning of the game, maybe the second half, but the beginning of the game, and say like have him do a post move, kind of like do whatever, just to kind of like get him going and feel like involved in the offense. And this is where the vibes I get with this Daniel Gafford thing. I mean, they literally just Luka gets the ball left key and dumps it down low, and he does a jump hook over Wendell Carter. In the second half, he gets the ball too. So it's just like kind of like a small thing, like, hey, we're going to kind of get you this ball, have this possession at the beginning of each halves, but you're going to do the dirty work. You're going to rebound. You're going to, catch lobs, set the picks, and all this stuff. I know it sounds like a small reward, but this is just a way to get somebody just going in the offense and feeling like they're involved with these first plays. So it's kind of like, I feel like we had a play with Dwight Powell back years ago to where Dwight would get like a oop or something that they would run at the first of the game. This is going to be one of these like staples throughout the season with Gafford.
Well, I always say, anytime you do something that Doc Rivers is doing, that you're doing something right.
Yeah. Except raising his son to talk about basketball.
I was like, oh no, we can't go on this route.
Hey, he said something about LaMelo Ball that I 1,000,000% agree with, and I'm happy it's starting to get into the NBA lexicon.
Kendrick Perkins, by the way, career points per game. Are we ready? 5.4.
Yeah, but he was on those Celtics teams, and then the Thunder went out and got him. Like he was somebody that teams wanted.
Jeff Green. Yeah. That was too far. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that about Doc.
No, you clarified it. The added to talk about basketball. That was
it was just a joke about the Jokic thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
no, that's applicable. And I think with the Gafford thing, I think it's almost like the Mavs want to set up. All right, can we get teams to collapse on the bigs, and then all of a sudden open up all of our perimeter offense and all of our perimeter guys? And I don't know that the Magic really did that. They really didn't want to leave. I mean.
I don't think you're going to convince an opposing coach to double Daniel Gafford, but I think it's more about getting Gafford involved than it is like, hey, we're going to dump it down to Gaff and be like, I hope you double Daniel Gafford.
Maybe it's so that the defender doesn't leave Daniel Gafford and double. They're like, hey, you got to defend this guy. So
or you're gonna have to. You can't put somebody to roam off Gafford, like
right.
Stuff like that. Like he's gonna get the ball if he has a mismatch, whatever the case may be. What did Austin Rivers say about Jokic?
Yeah, we gotta go back to this.
No, when he had his thing the other day. Did y'all not see this? Where he said,
I saw him say LaMelo was better than Tyrese Haliburton, and I'm here for that.
Wow.
No, he had his whole thing the other day of like, besides passing, what is Jokic better than Karl-Anthony Townsend? And it was,
Austin Rivers like almost won didn't he win a playoff series as one of the
Did y'all
backcourt?
not see this clip?
I didn't. No.
Maybe I did.
This clip,
maybe I did.
He got so much backlash. He had to like post a video of him sitting on his couch of him just talking about like, hey, this is kind of what I meant. Because I quote tweeted, I was like, I don't want to ever hear again a player say, hey, you didn't play ball. You can't talk about this. Because he played ball, grew up around ball.
With Jokic. He played with Jokic.
Ridiculous take. He played with Towns too, but Towns is not even like in the same stratosphere as Jokic.
Not even close. Just a touch.
Anyway,
a lot of former players, especially like Austin Rivers, I could see where it's like, Cat is this skilled, talented big, and players sometimes really overrate that, the individual skill. I wouldn't even agree that Cat's more skilled than Jokic. I mean, we're really off the deep end here. It was a 30-point blowout game, and the game was over at halftime, guys.
That's because you're hanging out in a club over there.
Yeah, I mean, the game was genuinely over at half, maybe even before that.
What jersey do you have on?
It's a Nike jersey. Team Nike.
Let's go.
Okay. The Mavs didn't hit a bunch of threes in this game. Is this something? Did the Mavs find out something about their offense? They went 10 of 32 from three, 31%. Is this just the Magic were shorthanded and bad, or did the Mavs find something out about their offense?
I mean, they found out if Luka's good out the gates, we're going to win a lot of basketball games.
I thought you were just going to leave it at if Luka is good.
Yeah, but it's really if Luka's good immediately.
I'm not trying to pull anything from this because, I mean, when you have Mo Wagner, even Wendell Carter as like the two bigs down low, I mean, you're getting into the paint a lot. I mean, this is exactly what I would do. Is like, hey, get in the paint. Those two guys aren't scaring me down low. So I still expect them to shoot a ton of threes this season and in most games. But yeah, it's a combination of their injuries or just kind of like the roster makeup. And also, I mean, when Luka's doing Luka things, then there you go.
52 points in the paint total for the Mavericks in this one. And they also in the first half had all 19 of their fast break points. And the Magic only had 2 fast break points in the first half. So that to me was a huge difference in the game. As the Mavs were getting out, they were getting steals. They were pushing ahead in transition. That was huge. But yeah, I don't think that there was anything about just not taking threes. Sometimes they're not going to fall, but the Magic also shot 8 of 41 from 3. The Mavs defense deserves some credit. I don't think this Magic team is very good offensively anyway, but they deserve some credit for just stopping the Magic from anything that they wanted to do on offense. But yeah, the threes I didn't think made a huge difference in that one, but it was notable. The Mavs didn't hit a bunch of threes and then got the win, which is massive for them.
Yeah, I mean, that was a trend at the end of the season last year, and it has continued so far this year.
We'll keep it going. Let's keep it going. Coming up, let's get into Naji Marshall. I thought he had a really good game in this one. We'll talk about his impact, what he means to this team. We'll talk about some of the other guys who stepped up for the Mavs and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Go check out FanDuel and see what is available for you. They have all kinds of stuff for the NFL season. I won't say any Cowboys things. I'll just let you guys off on that one. The Mavs now, finally, they must have heard me, though, because the Mavs finally have better odds than the Timberwolves to win the NBA championship. Mavs plus 1,000, Timberwolves plus 1,100. So that finally switched. I think we changed a line, guys. I think that's us. Celtics still the favorite, plus 250. Thunder plus 480, and the Knicks plus 750. That one's kind of wild to me. The Mavs don't have better odds than the Knicks on that one. So that's the next one. That's the next one we'll go for is the Knicks with Towns, who is apparently just as good as Jokic, except for the passing. Go check out FanDuel, see what's available for you, and if you put down $5 and win that first $5 bet, you can get $150 in bonus bets. So get that, take advantage of that opportunity at FanDuel. See what is available that you want to get in on for the Mavs, futures, or game by game, any kind of thing like that. FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac. All right, slightly. We're 3-man weaving it. Mavs get the win against Magic. Feel good win. They got a game tomorrow against the Indiana Pacers. Naji Marshall, Isaac. Felt good about Naji Marshall's game. I mentioned the fast break points earlier. He was a big proponent of those because he was pushing in transition. He got a couple of really great lobs to bigs. One of those ones was to Lively. He took from almost half court. He took that. But Naji Marshall, I thought, had a big impact on this game. 4 points only, but 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple of steals, and I thought just made a big impact on this game.
That's the Naji Marshall stat line right there you want to see.
Nice.
Is around that 5, 5, 5, and a couple of the other ones. That's what Naji was brought in to do. And, obviously I'm not watching every single Pelicans game over the last few years, but whenever they signed Naji, everybody freaked out. It was he was the under the radar signing that all the national people freaked out over. Yes, we actually got somebody like that. This is fun. And so we get him, but everything you hear about is dude, he's such a good passer. He's a good passer. You talk to people, it's he's an underrated passer. It's all right, cool. I can't wait to see it. You see it in a game like this, and you see this is the difference between him and a Derrick Jones Jr. To where Derrick Jones Jr. gives them above the rim presence and all of that, and maybe better defender at the point guard spot. But Naji comes in, and you see him get the ball in transition or off the rim, and he can just take it. He can handle the ball better than Derrick Jones Jr. can. He can get down the floor. He can throw those lobs, and he has a different type of vision. And this is the versatility on the wing that we've always wanted them to have, going back to those early Luka days. And we love Dorian, but early on we were Dorian, can you dribble? Can you get into the paint? And
did we ever answer that question?
All of that. And it's then you see somebody like Naji who can defend really well, but also take it out in transition, make the right pass, throw these lobs from half court, like you're saying. So it's a joy to see him kind of feel more comfortable in the system. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, this was what I was expecting from Naji's plays. Like I think Naji's been really good so far this season, and him getting out in transition and being a playmaker in transition is really the one. I mean, he had a play in this one where I think he got a steal, he did. He made a really nice play, got a steal, and then threw a half court lob to Daniel Gafford. Like, he's a really good passer, really good playmaker in transition. I think it's going to help this team out a ton. And Luka loves him. I mean, Luka genuinely loves him. You saw him hug. He had a quote after. Can I read this quote?
Oh, please do.
Luka Doncic on Naji Marshall. Love his game. I think he's a very complete player. He can guard. He can bring the ball up. He can shoot. He's just going to keep getting better and better.
Amazing.
That's pretty high praise. Because I was thinking, I was like, Luka's either going to hate Naji Marshall or love him. Because I could see Naji having some boneheaded plays every now and then. The camera will just have Luka just like throwing his arms up. But I could tell early on that Luka absolutely loves his game. And he even said in another quote earlier tonight that he loved him when he played with the Pelicans too. So I wonder if Lou GM had a role in this one.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Well, Lou GM action.
Nick's looking for his soundboard bite of the conspiracy theory.
No, I don't have it with me. I don't have the soundboard. This is the vision, right? Like we talked about Naji's vision. This is the vision I had for Naji Marshall is to defend point of attack, to get out in transition, and it feels like they give him the ball in transition on purpose. And they're like, hey, we'd rather have Naji with the ball, and you've got to kind of pay attention to him, but we'd rather have that. And then all of a sudden your defense is going, Luka is on one side, Kyrie and Klay are on the other, or whoever else is in the game. And then a big is streaking down the middle. I mean, that is just this team should be much better in transition because of all those threats. They may not be as fast as they were, but one of the layups Naji Marshall got was just because he beat Franz Wagner to a spot, did a reverse layup and got him. Like, just, was faster, and the defense was too busy trying to look at everybody else than to pay attention to Naji Marshall, and he took advantage of that completely. Quiet game for Klay Thompson in this one. Isaac mentioned it earlier that he's the guy that got the least amount of shots, but in the first quarter, but only 9 points, 4 of 10, 1 of 5 from 3. Didn't feel like the Mavs really needed it. 4 assists for him. Anybody worried about Klay?
No, I just want to praise him because, he comes in his first 2 games. It feels like, we're joking, like this is the greenest of green lights. This is like Tim Hardaway at the green light, except like Klay's good.
Except Senior is the coach.
And then now you've seen like a sort of a shift to where a vet and a champion can do stuff like this, to where tonight's game, he plays over half the first quarter and doesn't take a single shot in the first quarter. And you see it the other night too, to where his shot attempts have gone down over the past few games in the first quarter, but in return, you're kind of joking, like now, like somebody else is getting the shot attempts. So just the fact that he can do that as a shooter and he can adjust, there was a moment there, I think it was the second half, to where he hits an open shot, then he comes down, he gets into the paint. Actually, I think it was the second quarter. Now, anyway, I wrote down the note, but I didn't put down a timestamp. And then he kicked it to the corner and hits Quentin Grimes. And it's like, dude, you could have just had kind of like a layup or a contested layup, but he hits the open man. He just knows how to, even in those moments where he's not getting his shots. How many times in Golden State do you think he played over half a quarter and didn't take a shot?
Oof.
That's it. It probably hasn't happened a ton in his career, and it probably won't happen a ton in Dallas, but it's just showing that and even early on, this guy can take on different forms of hey, you need me to lead the team in shot attempts in a quarter, I can do that. Or you need me to be out there and be in the right spots and do all the right things, I can do that too. And that's the luxury of having Klay versus a guy that's still trying to earn a reputation in the league, that's maybe younger, and it's looking for that next contract type of thing.
Yeah, Klay had 4 assists tonight. So the playmaking on display from Klay, that little that baseline inbounds play that they run, where Klay's coming off a down screen and he gets to the quarter, teams have shut that off. He's getting doubled on that now. So that's opening up other opportunities for the Mavericks. And another play I liked, I don't even remember when in the game it was, but Luka had it. I think he was posting up Jalen Suggs or another smaller guard, and Tristan da Silva was guarding Klay, and Klay was one pass away at the wing. And Luka was just waiting. And you could tell Luka was baiting a double. And Tristan da Silva did not move a muscle off of Klay. And it led to Luka just shooting a post fade over a smaller player that was just an easy bucket. So that's why you bring Klay in. He's going to have games where he doesn't shoot a lot. There's just going to be games where teams say, hey, we're not going to let Klay get clean looks from 3. Because if he starts hitting threes and then Luka and Kyrie get going, we have no chance of winning this game. So tonight was just one of those nights. I think the last 3 games or so, teams have kind of shut that off.
He only had
no, go hair.
Slightly has more hair than me.
That's true.
He only made 4 shots, but 2 of them were these little like attack a closeout, drive a little bit, and then floater like bank shot off the backboard too, which I think is notable because the Mavs have needed somebody to do a little extra off of a closeout, attacking a closeout, and Klay can absolutely do that. They didn't just bring him in as this standstill, shooter or even just a movement shooter. He can do a little bit like that, and that little floater, I was like, ooh, that I could see in a playoff series eventually, him taking a shot like that.
Yeah. The closeouts attacking is fun.
Well, it goes into of like when teams have to make that choice. We've talked about that choice a million times. Are you going to double Luka and say, hey, we're going to dare the rest of the roster to beat us? Or are you going to like single guard Luka and try to take out everybody else? And I wouldn't say they were trying to take everybody else out, but they weren't bringing the double on Luka and kind of just saying, Mosley's just like, oh, if Luka wants to get his 50, he can. Well, it came back to bite him because then they were up by 30 and, blink of an eye. So, and Luka was on it.
Yeah. I mean, teams single covering Luka.
Speaking of single coverage, Kyrie got single coverage basically all game too, and he was able to get 17, felt like an easy 17 points for Kyrie in this one, where he just took one-on-one coverage. And there was a play I just wanted to bring up where he took Franz Wagner into the post, and Franz Wagner is 6'10", like 6'11", like he is a really big guy, and Kyrie was posting him up. And then just the way that Kyrie was able to hesitate and rise up and take a shot, he took a jumper over him like 2 feet from the basket. It was an insane play where you realize how much Kyrie is reading a defender and reading his movements in order to get that shot to go, like without Franz having time to react to it.
When Kyrie decides it's bucket time, I mean it's just
beautiful.
It's bucket time. So when he sizes you up for 3, he'll take a jab step. And he's shooting. It feels like he shoots 50% on those. I mean, it's crazy.
He sized up Jed Howard kind of, but he was on the move. He was on the I think on the right wing, and it's just like he got the ball on the move. And it's like, dude, Jed Howard, what are you, like 12 years younger than Kyrie? And he just blows past him and finishes with the left hand, just like this is just easy.
Felt
like,
bad
easy
for him.
money. I just love watching Kyrie play. Like I think I said it before the season that he's like slowly becoming one of my favorite Mavericks ever. And he is, man. Like I just love watching him play basketball.
Yeah.
There you go. We will be back tomorrow with the Mavs versus the Pacers. We'll have that post game taken care of for you guys. So check back on there. Guys, go check out the QR code if you're watching this. Check out all the different ways to follow us. The newsletter, we got to stick at the #1 spot in Locked On among newsletter subscribers. So subscribe to our newsletter. Go check out the Locked On Mavs Insider program. Text the number, and you can get text straight to your phone. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!
Beat the Pacers, please.
Please.